Hello everyone, welcome to Clear Sky Thinking. This game is a cute Yuri visual novel about a young girl named Alice who goes on a holiday and meets Piper, where romance blooms. The Isle of Skye is a Scottish island located in the Inner Hebrides. It's a rocky, hilly island that's covered in wild heather, and it rains there a lot, even during the summer. Skye's not very far away from the mainland, but it's still pretty isolated. Ferry services run to and from the island on a daily basis, but it's almost an hour from Skye to the rest of the Scotland, and it doesn't help that the ferry's so expensive either. Skye has no shortage of scrubby fields, crumbling castles and cows, but it has hardly any people. There's only a sprinkling of towns and villages, and the largest settlement, Portree, has a whopping 2,000 residents. Yes, you heard that right, 2,000. There's not much to do in Skye for fun, and the air smells like manure. It's a dank, desolate, tiny island that hardly justifies its own existence. It's the sort of place that might seem petty at a glance when searching through images on Google, but reality of living there is tragic. If that sounds appealing to you, then congratulations, you're insane. I've never once thought that in my 17 years that I'd like to go to a dreary hole like that. Especially not on holiday. Unfortunately for me, however, my dad really is insane and he had other ideas. Cheer up, Ellie. It might never happen. It already has happened. My life is over. I stare at the grey, choppy water that churns against the side of the ferry. It's the middle of the summer, but it sure as heck doesn't feel like it. The weather's been rotten lately, and it feels even more rottener than it actually is thanks to my miserable mood. The ocean waves that splash against the side of the ferry are icy cold. I can feel a few loose droplets splashing against my stockinged legs and the hem of my dress. This dress cost me quite a bit of money, and the stockings too. All of my clothes are expensive. I picked this outfit very carefully last night before I went to bed. I wanted to look my best on this grim journey, regardless of my mood. When I'm feeling blue, dressing myself up in frills and lace can make a world of difference. I'm starting to think I was being a little optimistic though. No amount of baby, the stars shine bright, can ease the bitter knowledge that I'm on my way to Skye. I can see the rocky, jagged shoreline of our destination in the distance. It looks like we'll be there in about 10 minutes. The closer we get to the island, the more my heart sinks. I feel like I've swallowed a stone. This is the worst. Don't be like that, Ellie dear. You make it sound like we're going to be in Skye forever. Aren't we? Of course not. We'll only be there for a week. That might as well be forever. Why couldn't you have left me in London? It's not like I'm a little kid anymore. I can look after myself. I know, Ellie. I trust you implicitly. Just try to understand. This is the first time I've seen Ian in years. It would be great to catch up with him, but it wouldn't be the same without you. He wants to know how you've been getting on too. Like he cares. I was a kid the last time I saw him. Of course he cares. He's your godfather. I'm sure he'll love to see you again. He asked me to bring my family with me, and, well, you're the only family I have left after your mother. Oh, please. I roll my eyes. I can't help myself. I like to feel a degree of sympathy for Dad, but we've been over this one too many times for me to let his whole woe is me act slide. You make it sound like she's died or something. I spoke to her only last week. My mom and dad got divorced a while back when I was still in primary school. It wasn't a particularly dramatic affair like you hear about on TV. It was quite quiet, really. There was no verbal abuse, no broken crockery, no tears in the early hours of the morning. There weren't even any accusations of infidelity. My parents didn't have a huge falling out over any particular issue, they just drifted apart. It sucks, but it happened. I don't feel emotionally scarred by what happened, to be honest. It hasn't had much of an impact on me or my daily life. My parents don't live together anymore, but I still see my mother a lot. She doesn't live in London now. She moved to York to be with her parents, but she visits fairly often and she texts me almost every day. I'm over it, but my dad acts like the divorce is a huge thorn in his side. He gets all sad and mopey whenever he thinks about Mom, though it's all happy smiles and no worries, Pri, whenever she comes to see us. I get that my mom was the love of my dad's life, but you have to get over these things. It's been 8 years. When are you going to stop being so gloomy about Mom anyway? Don't you think it's high time you started seeing somebody else? I don't know if I have time for that, Ellie. I'm too busy at work. You always say that. Because I am. That's God honest truth. It's hard managing a business and raising a daughter. Yeah. I'm busy with work. It's Dad's answer for everything. He's always busy with work. It's not like he's a rocket scientist or anything though. He's just a photographer. When Dad gets caught in his work, he shuts the rest of the world out. This is a pretty common occurrence. It can happen for days at a time. Sometimes I wonder if that's why Mom moved out. Well, that and her belated realization that she's more attracted to women than she is to men. If you're really that busy, you should have stayed in London. I can't stand Skye. Don't be like that, Ali. You've never been there before. I don't need to go there to know that it will be a dump. I already looked it up. We'll be staying in the middle of nowhere. I'm sorry if I'm spelling this wrongly. Adavasa's isolated. I'll give you that, but it's very pretty. I've seen the photos. Maybe I'll take some photos on my own too. I've brought all of my equipment with me. Skye's full of beautiful attractions, and I'm sure you'll love all the old castles, Ali. I know you've always wanted to be a princess. I thought I was already a princess. Of course you are. You're my princess. That gives my head a ruffle. Under normal circumstances, I would snap at him about ruining my carefully styled hair, but the wind's already done a number on it, so I decide, very graciously, to let it slide. My dad annoys me from time to time, but he's not a bad dad. He has done a pretty good job of raising me, I guess. He's never missed a single parent-teacher conference. He doesn't nag me about my grades too much, and he's never once made fun of me about my unusual fashion sense. As far as dads go, I'd say he's pretty top tier. He's not quite 5 stars, but maybe 4? It's not like I actually tell him that though. I don't want him to get complacent. Besides, being nice to my dad is kinda embarrassing. Just try to grin and bear this as best as you can, alright? I know you don't want to come here, but it's been ages since I last saw Ian. This means a lot to me. You won't be entirely alone. He has a daughter about your age. Don't you remember Piper? Not really. I only met Piper once, back when I was like 5. I don't remember what she was like at all, but even if I did, I doubt it'll be much use. More than 10 years have passed since then. Piper won't be the same as she used to be. I'm certainly not the same. There is one thing about her, however, that sticks in my mind. Wasn't she ginger? Yes, she was. Still is, so's Ian. He was hoping she would inherit Hilda's hair, but apparently not. Wasn't Hilda a tall, blonde lady? Yes, that's right. You remember her then? Only because of her laugh. She sounded like a horse. Alice! That scolds me, but I can tell that she isn't putting his heart into it. It looks like he's trying not to laugh. You can't say that about other people. Why not? It's the truth. I know it's the truth, but it's still rude. Don't tell Hilda you said that, or Ian. I won't. I'm not stupid. I'm not like my dad, who decided to waste a whole week in the Isle of Skye at the behest of his oldest friend. My dad's known Ian Carter even longer than he's known Mum. They grew together in Manchester, only a couple of doors down from one another. They went to the same primary school and secondary school, and even the same university in London. They've been inseparable for forever. Then a couple of years before the divorce, Ian decided to uproot his family and move all the way to Scotland, Skye to be more precise. Well, I call my dad stupid, but at least he's not as daft as Ian. Oh look! My dad points at Skye, whose craggy shores are looming ominously before us. We're almost there. We best get it back into the car. Sure. Dad stepped away from the railings and hurried back to his old Nissan. But I'm a little more hesitant. I remain at the railings a second longer, my arms resting against the cold steel. The wind's playing merry hell with my hair, and my stockings are slipping down my legs, but I don't bother adjusting any of those oh-so-important details. I might be dressed like a princess, but there's nobody on Skye I want to impress. Not my godfather or horsey Hilda, or their ginger spawn. I wish I could click my heels together like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz and teleport myself back to my bedroom in Croydon. I wish I was anywhere but here. But I'm old enough to know that wishes don't come true. Ardvasa is a small village on the coast of Skye, though that doesn't say much. All the villages on Skye are small, all of the towns too, and most of them are located on the coast. The village is only a stone's throw away from Armadale, where the ferry docked. But that's not saying much either, given how tiny this godforsaken lump of rock is. There's one hotel in Ardvasa, but even that feels like one hotel too many. It's an old building that dates back to the early 1800s, or so its website says. It's a relatively large building, for Skye at least, with whitewashed walls and a sign above the door that bears its name in a slanting font. That's not where I'll be staying this week, however. Dad booked us a holiday cottage right by the coast. A small, squat building with a crooked chimney that's surrounded by scrubby trees. The cottage only has one floor, but it does have 2 bedrooms, thank God. I like my dad, but I don't like him enough to share one room with him for a week. We arrive at our holiday home a little after 5. My dad parks his old Nissan on the grey curb outside. This place isn't plush enough for a driveway, and then starts shunting our luggage inside. I was half hoping that the interior of this cottage would be more inviting than the unkempt, run-down exterior, but hope is a rare and fleeting thing in Skye. The cottage is so small that it feels claustrophobic. The walls are very close together, and there's barely enough room to swing a cat around. Not that I would want to do that, of course. The walls in the living room are made of stones, not bricks, and they warp and distend like something from a surrealistic painting. The stones are lathered with layers of white paint, but the paint job's flaky and uneven, too thin in some places and too thick in others. The ceiling's dangerously low and supported by wooden beams that look half rotten. I bet they're teeming with wood lice. The floor is similarly wooden, made of burnished boards only partially hidden beneath a red rug. The armchairs and the sofa are packed together around a boxy TV like OAPS at a bus stop. They look like the soft of chairs OAPS might favor too, dun brown and hopelessly outdated. The sight of the living room does little to lift my already flaccid spirits, but my own bedroom is an even more depressing sight. My bed is a small, narrow one, like something from a prison cell. It's hemmed against a white, flaky wall and a brown. Why is everything in this place brown? Side table with a wonky leg. There's an old chest of drawers in one corner, and even older wardrobe on the opposite wall. A window that lets in the greyish sunlight, and that's about it. This place is a far cry from my sophisticated, elegant bedroom back in Croydon, which is a double bed and vanity table and clothes mannequin for coordinating my outfits. My room is black and white, and it's very modern. There's a lot of neutral colors and smooth, clean lines. There's absolutely no space in my inner sanctum for rotten floorboards and ugly floral curtains. My room smells a lot nicer than this room too. I've liked to burn incense and lighted scented candles in my room all the year round, so it has an appropriate scent for each season. Lilacs in the spring, citrus in the summer, cinnamon in the autumn, and roasted chestnut in the winter. This dank little room, however, smells of one scent and one scent alone: cow. Ugh. My nose wrinkles. I press a hand against my mouth, as if this might combat the musky aroma of animal. It's funny that this place stinks of cows when the streets were entirely devoid of life, from what I could tell, but I guess I should have expected it. Skye's surrounded by countryside, and there was no shortage of cattle on our 5-minute car journey here. What a joke. I sink into my bed, my energy having deserted me. The wooden bed frame creaks alarmingly the moment I descend upon it. It's not going to fall apart, is it? This place is so minging, I wouldn't even be surprised. This place is awful. It's the absolute pits. I look around the room dispassionately, hoping I might find something to like about it. But it's not to be. This place really is dire. It's even worse than I anticipated, which is actually pretty impressive since the bar was already on the freaking floor. How did it fail to live up to even my lowest of expectations? The mind really does boggle. I miss my own bed, I miss my bookshelves, and I miss my mannequin. I call her Luna. If I had all my nice, clean, familiar things with me, this room might feel a little homier. But there's no way my dad would have let me haul Luna from our house in Croydon all the way here. I don't think she'll fit in this room anyway. There's barely enough space for my suitcase. It'll only be a week, my dad said. Grin and bear it, he said. That's easy for him to say. He's the one who wanted to come here. I didn't. He didn't need to drag me along. I lie down on the bed. I don't want to think of it as my bed and stare at the ceiling. There's a hairline crack running along it and a small dent about the size of a 5-pence coin. This place is, quite literally, falling apart. Maybe the ceiling will cave in during the night and crush me. I'll bet Dad will feel sorry for dragging me here then. Why couldn't I have stayed at home? I yawn, then pull myself upright. I'm afraid if I keep lying here, I'll nod off. I didn't get much sleep last night. Dad told me to set my alarm early so he could make the drive to Scotland in good time. It was a long, arduous journey, which lasted a good 11 hours. Then we had to board the ferry, which was an extra hour on top of everything else. I feel like I've been in a near constant state of transit since this morning. This must be how a FedEx parcel feels. My head aches, and so does my body. I feel so heavy. My full petticoat does little to lighten my body, and neither does my dress with the puffy sleeves. Being a lolita is a labor of love, and I had to wake up an hour earlier than that, around 4, just so I could apply my makeup and style my hair. I put a lot of effort into this cord, and for what? What was even the point? I should have worn an oversized shirt and a pair of trousers like Dad did. He told me I shouldn't fuss so much about my looks. You'll be in the car most of the day, Ellie. But I refused to budge. I decided if I had to go to Skye, I'll go there on my own terms, dressed to the nines in my favorite clothes. I think my outfit's pretty cute, but it's all wrinkled now. My hair's windswept after the journey on the ferry, and I doubt even my foundation can hide the bags beneath my eyes. I'm utterly exhausted. Not even my love for Lolita can invigorate me. I really want to go home. Unfortunately, that isn't possible. I'm here now, and as I don't like it, I'll just have to lump it. I guess I should start unpacking. I get up from the bed and start sorting my belongings. I unzip my suitcase to review my very first brand dress, baby's green Baroque JSK. I run my fingers along the fabric softly, as a mother might soothe her small child. In a way, my dresses are almost like my children, even the cheap knockoffs bought for less than £60. The originals are my beautiful, perfect children, all adopted of course. The knockoffs are my uglier, decidedly more misshapen children, but they're my children nonetheless. My cases comprise almost entirely of Lolita clothes. My dad told me to pack shirts and trousers. You'll be doing a lot of walking, Ellie. But I hate wearing drab, dull, ordinary outfits. I've worked hard to deck myself out like a princess. Why should I have to compromise on that? It's hard to feel like a princess right now, though. I take my Baroque JSK in my fingers, marveling at how soft the fabric is, then rise to my feet. I open the wardrobe, preparing to hang in there, pride of place. Ew? But I pause. If I thought my room smelled bad, there's nothing compared to the wardrobe. The stench of mothballs and age is strong enough to bring tears to my eyes, and that's not all. The wardrobe isn't empty. The previous inhabitants of this cottage, whoever they were, didn't do a very thorough job cleaning this place out. There at the bottom of the wardrobe is a crumpled pair of what appear to be pajamas. They are emblazoned with Winnie the Pooh characters and they look to be for a little kid. What in the... I set my JSK back into my suitcase, folding it neatly atop my other children, and reached into the wardrobe's dark depths. I extricate the pair of pajamas, gripping them gingerly with the tip of my fingers. But the moment I do, I wish I hadn't. These pajamas, which have been lying here for God knows how long, are stained with crusty orange spots. Is that... Yes, I think it is. It's dried baked beans. Gross! I dropped the pajamas onto the floor, gagging and taking a hasty step back. This cottage isn't just depressing, it's also disgusting. How am I ever gonna survive this? It's around 7 p.m. when Ian Carter, or as I prefer to call him, my worst enemy, pays our shabby hovel of a holiday home a visit. Since Ian lives in Adawasa himself, it can't have taken him all that long to get here. It's about 5-minute walk from one end of the village to the other, tops. Still, he rocks up at our doorstep looking calculatively windswept. His hair slicked back and the top two buttons of his undone shirt. A pair of sunglasses are perched halfway up his forehead, though it's already dark outside, and the strap of golden watch winks conspicuously on his right arm. Sorry, I'm not used to reading this much description out loud. Is he trying to show off? Michael! Ian greets my dad with a great booming voice that's loud enough to wake up half the island, then pulls him into a big bear hug. It's been too long! I missed you, mate! I miss you too, Ian. How are things? Things are going well. Yeah, I can't complain. It's always sunny in Skye. Ian releases Dad from his manly embrace and shoots me a grin. I think he's trying to joke around, but I'm not buying it. I fold my arms across my chest and stare pointedly in the opposite direction, like a true princess. I don't want to give Ian the satisfaction of thinking that I actually care about him. Unfortunately, Ian doesn't seem perturbed by my greeting, or lack of. He beams at me, his teeth are so white even his smiles are aggressive, and says, "And you must be little Alice." And that's right, I'm Alice. I mean, duh, who else would I be? My dad doesn't have any other daughters that I know of. Goodness, I almost didn't recognize you. You certainly sprung up. You were only down here when I saw you last. Sorry, I'm not good at Scottish accents. Ian gestures with one hand. I roll my eyes. Yes, well, I was 5 when you last saw me. It would be more worrying if I hadn't grown any taller. You're not wrong about that. Ian laughs and laughs as though I've told the funniest joke in the world. I must say, you're wearing a pretty frock. It doesn't look very practical though. Are you on your way back to the ball? Cinderella? I wish. I'm trying to sound cutting, but Ian doesn't look even remotely fussed. He laughs again, then bows to me. It's lovely to see you, milady. You're certainly a sight for sore eyes. I don't dignify this with a response. Instead, I sniff. Ian might be smiling, but I think he's making fun of me. Not that that's anything new. I'm used to people making snarky comment about my clothes. My frilly blouses and full ruffled skins can be a bit off-putting. I've been called all sorts of names in the streets and at college too. You'd think it'll be the kids who say the meanest things, but adults can be pretty catty too. They don't often shout, but they do make snide comments. Ian's over-laboured milady isn't nearly as bad as some of the other things I've heard, but it rankles all the same. I can't stand Ian Carter and his loud braying laughter or his stupid sunglasses. What's the point in them anyway? We're not in California. I can't believe you even need sunglasses on Skye, even during the heady height, of summer. I've heard the hottest it gets around here is about 15 degrees Celsius. The chain of Ian's golden watch winks in the lamplight of the living room, and his teeth looks very big and white as he laughs. Ian's very big and white in general. He has broad shoulders like a pro wrestler, and he's so massive his head is in danger of bumping against the ceiling. The living room's small enough without Ian Carter's bulk crammed into it. There's nowhere I can go to get away from him. He seems to be expanding even as I stand there, like an overbaked loaf of bread. At least he came alone. I peer past him, or at least I try to, and I can't see Horsey, Hilda, or the ginger nut. Couldn't they be bothered to come? Sorry, it's just me, Michael. Ian seems to have read my mind. Now that's a scary thought because he says this unprompted. I was going to bring the girls along, but I thought the better of it. Hilda likes to natter, you know what she's like, and I didn't want her wearing you out after your long journey. I guess Ian isn't as thoughtless as his sunglasses and that golden watch might suggest. If I had to spend this evening in the company of him and Piper, I think I'll lose my mind. We can all meet up together tomorrow, when you've had a good night's rest. You've got Hilda's travel itinerary, didn't you? Oh yes, she emailed me too. Oh yes, she emailed me weeks in advance. Smashing! Leaving it to Hilda to sort things out, eh? She loves arranging timetables. Give her a daily planner and she's happy as Larry. While Ian chortles to himself, I shoot that a quizzical look. What itinerary? Hilda was kind enough to plan our week for us. We have a lot of sightseeing ahead of us, Allie. What sort of sights? I can't imagine there's much to see in Skye other than Heather and the cows, and I've had more than my fill of that already. Oh, it's mostly castles and things. There are some nice nature walks too. You like that sort of thing, don't you, Allie? My father looked at me pleadingly, his eyes a little too large. I know that he really means please pretend you like this sort of things for Ian's sake. Things will be awkward if you don't play along. I don't like Ian very much. He hasn't made a good first impression, but I do love my dad, even if that's kind of cringy. And I don't want to let him down. I've done a pretty bad job at playing the obedient daughter role so far, so I should make a bit of an effort now we have company. Sure, Dad, I like looking around castles. Though I prefer beautiful, elegant castles with stained glass windows and rose gardens. I'm not sure what I'll make of Skye's dank, crumbly rooms. Oh well, I guess there's only one way to find out. There is one thing I'm hesitant about though. The Carters aren't going to be with us for the whole trip, are they? That's the plan! It's been such a long time since I saw Michael. I want to make the most of it. I'm sorry for monopolizing your dad, Alice. I hope you don't mind. Oh, no, not at all. I returned Ian's grin with a strange smile of my own. I'm not angry at Ian for monopolizing my dad. I'm angry at him for monopolizing my summer holiday. I wonder what he'll say if he knows how much pain and suffering he's caused me. But even if he did know, I doubt he'd care. He'll probably treat it all as one big joke. What a jerk. Now then, it's getting late. Ian announces this after glancing down at his golden wristwatch. I guess it's not just for show after all. Calling me surprised. I think I've talked enough. I'll leave you to your own devices for now. Michael, I can see how tired you are. I don't want to keep you any longer. Yes, I think eagerly. Don't keep us. Please leave. Get out. Go. My dad, however, has other ideas. I really wish he would stop doing that. Oh no, I'm fine. I don't need to sleep just yet. Why don't you stay, Ian? Sit down, I'll brew you a cup of tea. We'll have a lot of catching up to do. No, what are you playing, Dad? He said he'll go on his own. Don't make him stay even longer. I thought you were supposed to be on my side. That's very nice of you, Michael, but I don't want to be a bother. Have you even had any dinner yet? Well, not yet. I thought you could maybe tell us where all the best restaurants are. I have no clue. I am the connoisseur when it comes to Skye's many eateries. I'll grant you that. But are you sure you want me to stay here? It looks like Ellie can't wait to be shot of me. Yes, that's right. I can't stand the sight of you. Go away! Woof, woof, woof. I'm sure that isn't true. Alex is a very understanding girl and she knows how much this holiday means to me. You don't mind if Ian stays for half an hour, do you? We can go and get something to eat after that. Scout's honor. Well, I sigh. Of course I want to get rid of Ian as soon as possible. This town isn't big enough for the both of us, and I certainly don't want to leave. Wait, that's not true. I do want to leave, but I can't. I'm stuck here. Since I'm in this rotten holiday for the long haul, I'd rather see as little of Ian Carter as possible. I can't leave, so he'll have to. That's simple logic. I want to get rid of him about as badly as Emperor Nero wanted to cleanse Rome of Christians. But I have no real power, unlike Emperor Nero, and no Senate backing my decisions. I can't exactly set fire to Ian or feed him to the lions, and even if I could, my dad's disappointment would be immeasurable, and his day would most definitely be ruined. I don't want to upset my dad, which means all I can say is, of course I don't mind. You can stay as long as you want, Ian. I hope Ian will see through my false politeness. The twitch in my left eye and the furrow of my brow should be more than enough to prove that I don't mean what I say. I want Ian gone as soon as possible, preferably 3 feet under the ground. I can't stand him. I despise him. He's my nemesis, for Christ's sake. He's loud and obnoxious, and worst of all... Oh, alright then. You twisted my arm. I'll stick around for a cuppa. But just a quick one, mind. I don't want Hilda wondering where I've gotten to. He's terrible at reading the atmosphere. Fortunately, Ian doesn't go back on his word. He only drinks 1 cup of tea with my dad. But unfortunately, it's the slowest cup of tea that I've ever been subjected to. I didn't know it was humanly possible to take an hour over a single cup, but Ian managed to prove me wrong. He really is full of surprises. He's full of stories too, which is why it takes him so long to finish his cuppa. He's been too busy gassing, and he said Hilda was a helpless gossip. I think he must have been projecting, because Ian's chattier than a talk host show. Sadly, he's not even half as interested as Philip Schofield. Ian tells Dad all about his job in excruciating detail. Apparently, he works as a back-end developer, whatever that means, for some Scotland-based tech company. Ian works from home, though he has to travel to Aberdeen bi-weekly for a bunch of boring old meetings with his bosses. Ian tells my dad about his disputes with his colleagues, his recent dealings with the Americans, as he called them, scare quotes included, and his dreams of an early retirement so he can enjoy his accumulated wealth. He also talks about Hilda's voluntary work, Piper's recent victory on her school's netball team, and their latest holiday in France. Every other word that comes from Ian's mouth sounds suspiciously like a boast. It doesn't do much to improve my opinion of him. I wish he'll hurry up and get to the point already. But that doesn't seem to be a point to Ian's story other than a desire to show off about how fabulously rich he is and how well he's done for himself. He talks so much my dad barely gets a word in edgeways, but he doesn't seem to mind. My dad just nods thoughtfully and goes, yeah, and that's right. Whenever Lord Ian pauses for breath, I find myself glancing at the clock every 5 seconds or so, willing the minute hand to go faster. By the time Ian finally sets his cup down and says his goodbyes, for real this time, my head feels just about ready to fall off my aching neck. Ian talked for a lot, but he drank very little. He leaves his cup of tea half drunk, now stone cold. Doesn't he need any liquid to lubricate his throat? Maybe he's some sort of superhuman mutant. He's certainly muscular enough. If he did have physical capabilities on par with Wolverine though, there's no way he wouldn't boast about it. I guess he's just a regular guy after all. Take that, Ian. You're not as special as you like to think. What a waste. I pour the remnants of Ian's tea down the plug hole, then rinse out the cup in the kitchen. There isn't a dishwasher, of course, so it has to be done by hand. I'm careful not to spray any droplets of water on my dress, but I suppose the damage has already been done. My clothes have been through the wars today. The ribbons at the back of my dress is definitely crooked, and my petticoat feels all crushed out of shape. I sigh as I place the cup onto the rack to dry. It's around 8 p.m. now, and I feel exhausted. I'd like to shuffle off back to my room and collapse, but I can't. My stomach's growling at me. It's even emptier than my piggy bank was after I bought my first pair of rocking horse shoes. I last ate around 2 p.m. when my dad stopped off at McDonald's on the M6. I got my fair share of funny looks there, which ruined the whole experience. It feels like a small eternity since I consumed my chicken nuggets, and I'm desperate for something a bit more substantial. I don't care tuppence about Skye, or threepence, but this place is an island. You can't walk 5 feet without coming across the coast. Surely there must be some good seafood restaurants around here. And by around here, I don't mean in Advasa. I don't think good is an adjective that can be applied to this miserable hole. Luckily for me, Ian's brief chat with my dad wasn't completely useless. He does know his way around Skye, you hope so, given he's lived here for over a decade, and he recommended a couple restaurants to us. With Ian gone and the evidence of his visit washed up and left to dry, Dad and I get back to his old Nissan. We drive over to Broadford, which is about 20 minutes away down at the A851, and we eat at an unassuming place called the Harbour Restaurant. It's not the most imaginative of names. In Skye, you're only ever a stone's throw away from a harbour of some sort. I'm hungry enough to let this slide though. The food is rather good, even if it's a little expensive. I think I must have been born under some sort of unlucky star, however, because I managed to get a fishbone caught in my throat, which makes me choke. I gasp for air while my father pounds my back and tries to shove a glass of water into my hands. He's so anxious he shoves a little too hard and he manages to knock the glass over. I stagger back, still choking, and try to avoid the downpour, but it's in vain. My dress isn't completely ruined, but the hem is soaked through. These theatrics make the few patrons in the restaurant shoot us funny looks, like they weren't doing that at the moment we walked in. A waitress pops up, napkin in hand, with apologies, but I can see that she's trying not to laugh at me. I guess I don't blame her. I must look and sound ridiculous. A teenager dressed like a fairy tale princess gagging over my fish and chips. It's like something from a comedy show. I don't think it's all that funny though. The incident with the rogue fish bone spoils what could have been a nice meal, and I pick at the rest of my food in silence, seething. I know I attract a lot of attentions as it is, thanks to my unusual clothes, but I don't like being laughed at. I'm not a clown. Dad pays the bill when we finish up and then hurries out of the restaurant. His head is bowed, his face red, and I'm left to wonder if he's as embarrassed as I am. Do I embarrass him where I insist upon wearing these elaborate impractical outfits? My dad always tells me he's proud of me, but I sometimes wonder. I wonder even more when the waitress bids us a good night when we leave, unable to meet our eyes as she does so. The drive back to our rundown holiday home is deadly silent. I stare sullenly out the car window, lips clamped shut, lost in thought. For our first meal in Skye, it wasn't a huge success. I'll take the lukewarm chicken nuggets from McDonald's any day, at least I didn't choke on those. Somehow the drive going back to Advasa seems much slower than the drive leaving it. Maybe that's a mark of how little I want to be there. I wish that Dad would announce that he's had enough of this so-called holiday, turn the car around and go back home. But of course, he doesn't. When we eventually get back, it's almost 10 p.m. I feel exhausted, and I think my dad does too. Home sweet home, eh? You wish. I snort. This place will never be like our home in London. Well, you're not wrong about that. Dad agrees with me placidly, which is how he acts about most things in life, even very important things like Mom's eventual decision to file for a divorce. Isn't that part of the fun of going away though? It's nice to try out new things. It'll keep you young, Ellie. I'm plenty young as it is, thank you very much. And it's not working either. Coming here makes me feel like I've aged 50 years, and it's all so boring. I kick one of the chairs sullenly. Now I've taken off my expensive shoes, there's nothing to stop me from venting my spleen on inanimate objects. Take that! Dad doesn't look thrilled by my behavior, however, he's tutting. Don't be so dour, dear. We've been through this already. It's only a week, and today's almost over. You can cross it off your calendar already. Thank God. Now. My dad's not Christian, but he always frowns whenever I take the Lord's name in vain. I think that's something he inherited from Mom. She's psych. And she's very big on respecting other people's views and religions. This place isn't that bad, is it, honey? It's homey. I would never want to live here. You don't have to. This is just a temporary arrangement, and I happen to like it. It's smaller than we used to, but it still has all the mod cons. Dad, an old TV like this doesn't count as a mod con. It even has a video player, for Christ's sake. I can't remember the last time I seen a video player. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen one. I've never used videotapes in my whole life. This place doesn't even have proper Wi-Fi. I can't stay logged in for more than 5 minutes at a time before it drops out. Isn't that a good thing? You live half your life on social media. You should be glad for a break. Oh, you just don't get it, Dad. You don't get it at all. I need to post my TikTok reels so that other people can see what I'm doing and thinking. Maybe I don't, but I'm trying to be positive. You should try it too, Allie. I'm sure you'll have a lovely time. Just you wait. Now, why does that sound so much like a threat? Haven't I waited long enough? Not quite. Just give it another day, please. We'll be going to Dunscape Castle with Ian and company tomorrow. I've heard it's a beautiful place. It better be, if we're going there with Ian. What was that, Ellie dear? Oh, nothing. I scuffed the floor with the tip of my foot. I've always found it hard being angry with Dad, mostly because he never gets angry with me. He doesn't raise his voice, and I don't think I've ever heard him shout. The more annoyed I get, the more he smiles in return. It's almost like he's hoping his enthusiasm will cancel out all my irritation. It's kind of endearing, I guess. In some ways, my dad's a bit like a kid, or maybe a cute and fluffy animal. Being cross with him feels a bit mean, kind of like bullying a little hamster. I'll come with you to this dunce castle if I have to, but I'm not holding out much hope. I bet you'll be an old pal, just like this place. Thanks, Allie. I knew I could rely on you. Yeah. Now, I had enough of Skye for one day. I'm going to bed. That's a good idea. I'll hit the dusty rails myself in a few. I need to be up and bright and early for Ian. Yes, of course, perish the thought that we make Lord Ian wait. He is the most important man on Skye. I intend to mutter this under my breath, but it comes out a little louder than I intended. That must have hurt me, but to my surprise, he doesn't scold me. Instead, he laughs. Yes, Ian can be quite full of himself, can't he? He's never been a modest man. I must have forgotten that, being apart from him for so long. Do you also think Ian's boring and self-important then? I don't know if I'll go quite that far. I like him a lot, but I can understand if he's rubbed you the wrong way. Ian might be a bit of a show-off, but there's no malice to him. He just likes the sound of his own voice. Don't take everything he says to heart. Don't worry, I wasn't. Good, then the two of you should get along swimmingly. I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, I really am going to bed now. Night, Dad. Night, Allie. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. I wouldn't be surprised if there are bed bugs in a place like this. The bean-stained pajamas I found in a wardrobe didn't fill me with much confidence. But I decided to keep quiet about them. I think I've complained enough for the night. My throat's starting to feel sore. I wonder if that's because of the fishbone or whether I'm starting to get a cold. God, imagine that, a cold at the beginning of August. It's supposed to be sunny, but the weather in Skye is dull and grey and miserable. This bodes well for the rest of my stay here. Not. I thought it'd take me longer to get to sleep, given my general disdain for this horrible place, but to my surprise, I passed out the moment my head touches my pillow. I fall asleep quickly and easily like a baby. But when I wake up, I feel groggy and disoriented, and my throat is unpleasantly dry. I sit up, yawning, and stretch my arms. It's still dark, and though there isn't a clock in here, even if there was, I doubt I'll be able to see it. I think it must be in the early hours of the morning. It's so early, I can't hear much of anything except the wind. There are no cars on the road at all, and I can't hear any people. It's so ominously quiet, I might as well be adrift in space. That's what Skye feels like. It's so out of the way. It doesn't feel like I'm in Scotland. It doesn't feel like I'm in the UK. It doesn't feel like I'm anywhere. And I don't feel anything other than lost, homesick, and suddenly incredibly thirsty. I think I need something to drink. I ease myself out of bed as carefully as I can, though that doesn't stop the bed from creaking. My bare toes press against the distorted wooden floorboards, veiled by the darkness, and I wince. I'm only wearing my nightgown, and my hair's tied back in a scrunchie. My nightwear, just like my ruffled blouses and my patterned dresses, is pretty fancy. It's a pastel piece that hangs all the way to my knees, with scalloped sleeves and a ruffled hem. I always wear this nightgown whenever I feel down. It never fails to perk me up, and I'm at peak princess mode when I'm wrapped up in frills and lace. It's hard to feel like a princess right now though, unless you want to count Cinderella in her pre-royal marriage days. I head over to the door, reach a shaky hand to the handle, then give it a twist. It groans and the door swings back. The hallway beyond the bedroom door is just as dark, if not darker, than the rest of my surroundings. I'm still not entirely familiar with this place, but it's so small I can't see myself getting lost. There's only 5 rooms. I just came out of my bedroom, not that I want to stake any sort of ownership over it. The door to the left is my dad's, and the one directly opposite leads to the living room. The teeny tiny cupboard-sized bathroom is next to that, and then there's the kitchen. Alright, I'm gonna end it here for today. Thank you guys for watching. Bye now.